Very good evening. Welcome back to my channel. This is Royal Bangalore Food and your host. This is Paul. So, very good evening wherever you are. So, my only request is that you go ahead and like and follow and subscribe before we start. And you made it till this deep end. I'll really appreciate it. And you further questions and your queries that you have, you can leave it in my comment section or you can email me at rbsnllc@gmail.com. And today's topic is all about business planning and your capital. Two subjects quickly on the aspects of understanding what exactly you need to kickstart your food brand. You all know today we talk about on Royal Bangalore Food is only about new business ideas, creative thoughts, and how to kickstart. I am in the realm of kicking start my private limited on the food aspects, wherein I become a co-packer or a private label or so-called the white labeling. I go ahead and procure these products from the manufacturer and then do a Shopify on the online and then also go on the marketplaces. So that you need to know what capital is required and how do you do a business planning. Let's dive in to understand more. So first thing first is that for a private limited you need to have two directors. So making sure that you have a great co-founder. It's also yourself, whoever is kicking start, so be it your idea, and also you need to have a co-founder. All right, so basically you have to have two sets of co-founders. Now why is it so important? Because that's a norms, you have to live with it, and that's how you go ahead and create your private limited. Because I mentioned it earlier, why is it important that you need to go ahead and create private limited to get fundings in case if you want to scale higher and do a pan India sales. Even for the matter of fact, if you're setting up your own plant in terms of manufacturing, or even if you do in co-packer, in my case scenarios, you need to have two co-founders because you need to bifurcate your jobs in terms of the job role is concerned, making sure that whatever your traits and your plus points is all is concerned. It could be operations, marketing, or sales. The other co-founders will take care of your production, your finance, and also in terms of partly in terms of your supply chain logistics. And the important scenario, since we are going online, it's also about having a great marketing strategies, right? So today is all about marketing, otherwise you will not be able to scale up. So you need to understand and bifurcate the positive points and the negative points of both the co-founders and align your vision and mission of your company within the business plan. So your business plan should ideally should lay out in terms of the entire spectrum of launching a product, right? Which also starts from your Excel sheets. First, in terms of your revenue, your target audiences, whom are you trying to, which model that you choose. It could be your online model or if it is an offline model. Under offline model, you have two aspects. One is that you can actually physically set up a store, which is nothing but a brick and mortar case or an omni-channel case. And from there, you create an online website yourself and then sell from that one particular channel, and also then leverage on the online marketplaces. Again, online marketplaces, you have three segments out there. One is marketplaces, one is your online grocery stores, another one is your B2B segments. So if your customers is your product aligns with different audiences on customer segments, you have to leverage it accordingly. Now in this business plan, you need to put across your important information about yourself, what you do, explain about us, what the company's vision is all about, what products that you plan to do, in terms of how you're trying to solve certain problems by helping launching this particular products, right? So in my case, it's going to be absolutely natural, sustainable, eco-friendly, vegan category customers, and even predominantly users for various segments, restaurants, retail. Predominantly in this ready to eat segments, it's also about reaching out your direct to consumer, direct to customer brands or the retail customers you need to concentrate on. So that those aspects you have to cover, and then comes to your production plan in terms of what exactly inventory that you will hold, how much will you sell. If it is you're reaching out to Amazon, then you have to understand your Amazon FB and all the Amazon programs, on Flipkart programs, on the Meesho programs, where exactly your customers you will drive in them from. And obviously you need to have such kind of medium on the online medium, specifically on social media, or whatever, Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, all matters a lot. So your marketing plan is mandate. And sit with your CA, sorry, sit with your CA to make sure that you analyze your financials. It is as important as anything else in this particular business plan, because without your financials you will not be able to go ahead. So that reminds me of letting you know what capital amount. Now, under the private limited, you have two sets of capital. One is that the authorized capital. Minimum, the MCA norms are 1 lakh, right? So you can just go ahead and say, I'm kicking start my company, the authorized capital is 1 lakh. And the paid up capital comes from various means and standards. For the first thing is that you have to self bootstrap yourself. So you have to self invest, which means that since it is also a shareholding, it's also about how much of shares that you hold within both the partners. You have to understand who invests more. Ideally you kickstart at 50-50 in terms of your the shareholding is concerned. So making sure that the other co-founders also invest and you also invest partly, and then you kickstart. Now that becomes your paid up capital. And under paid up capital, you align the minimum norm shares of MCA or Ministry of Corporate Affairs. It starts from rupees 10. So you allocate that. You have a CA, sit with him that this is my capital and what are the other plans of action, or the action plan segments or sequence of where and all you will spend this amount. Because the moment you lay your hands on private limited, there is loads of paperwork of documentation that you have to follow in terms of norms, compliances, taxations, when it comes to product descriptions, your FSSA guidelines. So many related, you will be spending enough of money, and you will get headache, right? So the reason why we do this today, if you register, let's say, just for a small digression, if you register a sole proprietorship or a limited liability partnership, I mentioned it earlier in my previous video that you can look up, it's that you will not be able to get funding, right? Whenever, if you have questions in terms of end of the day, it's all about capital, right? What is the initial capital amount? So based on that, your financial Excel sheet, spreadsheet has to be maintained and stick as religious as your homework and as your life is concerned, because everything boils down how you budget in terms of the expenditure, or so-called the operational expenditure or capital expenditure. For a small sake, for example, if you're registering private limited, you need to have a space. If you have a space, define that space. What is that? You will look at it in terms of the area is concerned, your rentals are concerned, your electricity is concerned, your internet is concerned. And when it comes to the product, in terms of stock area is concerned, you might have rodent issues. So the various aspects has to be listed in your spreadsheet. Make sure that you have two columns very specifically written. Your capital expenditures is one-time investment, where you will invest all these things, and the operational expenses. So that has to be covered under your business plan, under the financial segmentations, and lay these norms and stick with that budget. It's stick with your budget. It's very, very, very sacrosanct and very important that you have to stick with it. Otherwise, oh my goodness glory, because having run three operationals and 3 startups, it's difficult that you will never stick to the plan. Because I'm not saying that we have not done your business plan. It is the amount of opportunity. Please understand, in my 3 startups, my customers were all over, right? So you have to segment your costings, your budgeting according to your customers. In this case, this is going to be a product base. So you're going to have 2 components. One is that your production, you have to give an order to your manufacturer that you will procure the MOQ, the minimum order quantity of your products, in various SKUs, shopkeeping units, basically what we call it as, your pack size, the grams or liters concerned, and in terms of the packaging is concerned. So this is all the information that you'll give in one side. And this is a recurring, because as you sell out your products, you have to keep buying them again and again. So stick to your plan, making sure that you identify a great sales strategy. Again, I'm letting you know, you have to bifurcate in 2 mediums. One is the offline model, another one is the online model. If you're selling in offline, please go ahead and reach out to your restaurants, your shops, your supermarkets. Align your vision accordingly, where you would position your product and who are your customers who will end up buying these products, right? So you have to put that in. So sales strategy comes as important. Everything is important in business plan. So don't mind using this word as often as possible. It might sound monotonous and very cliche, but this is the fact. Okay. So many people today, many folks, many entrepreneurs who kickstart, look up your mentorship, your everything else. See, end of the day, it's all about yourself. How well you know your product, how well you're trying to solve the problems in the market. Now, in this case, since I'm addressing a product which is predominantly used in everyday context, and it's also one of the category which is something niche, which is really building high, great asset because you're solving climate issues, you're solving a lot of ready to eat issue, because in today's segments your customers are men, women and children and elderly people, because when it comes to hygiene, food to eat is concerned, you don't available. So I'm value adding to create that and make it more convenient. The keyword here is convenience. Convenience, easy to access, availability, just cut it open and get it go. So you have to allocate your sales strategy accordingly. Now this is about your business plan. There are many aspects to it. So first thing is understand your capital, making sure that you align, stick with your budget, whatever that you spend. There's so many things that you have to talk about it, right? The private limited itself, registering company is a huge aspect. Then there's your space, your offline, your color, your signboards, your business cards, your print, your rubber stamps, everything is costing. Then comes your website. Under website, you have plug and play. You have many websites you can use. If you're a coder, it's great, you can develop on your own. But otherwise, it's always plug and play. Utilize what is available. Keep it as simple as possible. Simple is stressed, and there's a sighing of breathe. Simplistic is the greatest asset that you can ever go ahead and choose. If you do not go ahead and keep it as simple as possible, then you're making a really life complication for the customers to reach out. Understand, in the online, when you develop a store, a lot of things matters a lot, because if you're an offline store, you can decorate it with lights, you're on the right in the main street, you can talk, you can make a lot of music, noises, so many things can be done. But in the online, it's all about your great images, your videos, your information that you have, your product description, your pricing, your inventory that you hold. Everything matters. Packaging, including your brand identity design. So today, this idea of reaching out to everybody out here, it's not only in India, the whole of the world. If you're trying to create a brand, you have to, must and should create a brand. Otherwise, you're just a sales guy selling the other products. I mean, you don't want to do that, because instead of earning a salary, you'll be end up doing commission models, right? So it is different pros and cons to it. But if you're really selling your own brand, it's your own baby. You know how to treat your baby, how important it is. You have to make sure it's fed well, it's treated well, healthy and wealthy, and making sure that you would yield some kind of value additions once as the brand grows. It's just like your baby. So simple as that, but it sounds really hard. That's when your brain and your innovative ideas, everything wakes up. Your dopamine, your entire hormone system wakes up. You change as a person, you evolve as a person, and the best part is that it keeps you learn. And my only suggestion is that do not be afraid to fail. Many people will teach you how to succeed, how to make money. Trust me in that, you have various aspects. I do not want to go on it, but my experiences will be in terms of, be as clear as possible in terms of what you wanted. So consult few things. One is that your good luck charm. One is your your learning. As I said, I informed that you have to fall and fail so that you can develop a strategy over it and come over it. That's the greatest asset that you can ever learn in any life of footpath or a path wherein you would learn. So be prepared and do not be afraid to fail and fall. It's the greatest asset that you can ever learn, and nobody can teach you. And I'll bet you on that. I can vouch for it. Nobody will teach you. It's all about your own self-realization and experiences that you have based on various circumstances, right? And for a businessman, you need to have capital. Please do not go with any of the online segments saying without investments, you can kickstart. No, you cannot. If you're doing a drop shipping, if you're doing any invoice, you're writing or a tearing of an invoices, GST component comes into picture. Your goods and service tax is mandate. So if the moment you need to have a GST, mind you need to have to follow into all the norms. So there are, yeah, so it's all about business planning. So put that everything in plan. If you want any more assistance on the business plan, on certain product or even services that you launch, be it on any category or any industry, you can reach me out. Okay, now moving on to the important aspects, right? So you need to understand. So coming back to the capital amount, Now, what is capital? Capital is your investment, it's your money. What money is required for you to go ahead and kickstart that initial spark that is required, right? We are not talking about seed funding, you're not talking about funding from different sources. It's all about bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is all about you self interest invest in terms of what business is required. Once your business plan is set and right, I mentioned it earlier, every spick and span that it relates to the costing, whatever you need as a company to kickstart, your planning will assist you to say where is your requirement of funding, right? Because initially I mentioned is your capital expenditure, is your operational expenditure, there are daily costs, monthly costs, infrastructure costs. So you have to allocate those costs and put that budget in place. That will determine you in terms of how much of capital is required. Now, you might say that, hey, Paul, you know what? 1 lakh is more than enough to go ahead and kickstart. Trust me on this. You know, it's not. There is no cap if you're having a capital, right? So you can have abundance of money, but allocating and aligning your vision according to a company standards. What does a business plan demand? Where would you spend this? Because having money to start a business doesn't align your goal, because you're trying to solve a problem, first thing. Second thing is that your money or capital is required to kickstart that businesses and run that engine as smooth as possible. So you need fuel, you need people, you need to have customers, all aligned with your vision and mission of your customers. So keep that your brain mind strong so that you work towards the vision of the company that you've laid. The engine which needs is the capital, right? Because without capital you cannot move ahead. It's a marathon that you have to run for years and years and years. So have a great plan or a 5-year plan, that at least to start with 1-year plan, you would have a great understanding of looking at your books. I'm talking about your finance systems in terms of your revenue is concerned, what net profit, what is your gross profit, what is your EBITDA profit. In this case, your accounts or your CA team will help you out, but this will allocate to understand what kind of capital is required. As I mentioned earlier, for a private limited, since we are talking about private limited, if you have further questions about the other nominations of other company registration process, please reach me out. It's easy, available on internet. But still, if you want any further assistance in terms of documentations, can that plan A, plan B can be done? Yes, no questions, all can be answered. Now, coming back to the point is that the capital, paid up capital has to be 1 lakh, and you can kickstart from there. And from there, whatever value addition that you do, mind you, before you kickstart and you put your shareholding perspective is concerned, come to a solution that what is the capital. As I said, your spreadsheet will explain, but is it going to be 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, or 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs? Depends what you want to do. If you want to start small, slow, and you want to grow, test the waters, do a fishbone analysis. If you want to create a great asset that you would do this as an engine and drive as an offline sale, so be it. So put your triangle funnel, sales funnel accordingly, and then you reach out to your capital. If in case you want to raise from your friends and family, always better to ask your friends and family, knock them up. Also give them a little bit of pie of your shares, like an ESOPs, what you call it, as the shareholding procedures or the policies. You can allocate certain shares to them as well initially, because they've been part of the hand-holding exercises to kickstart your businesses. So you should give the value add and tell them that these are the additions that you will get it as part of the perk. And in case in the future, you never know, you might get sold out, you might get absorbed, or probably you might get a VC or investment and you literally grow. They also grow as a company, and you can always buy them back because the initially support system was them. So friends and families is always an ask, because as much as bootstrap that you can do, it's a great revenue model. There are fantastic businesses to go ahead and case study to learn. Keep learning as you grow. Have reckless of nights. Same time, everybody would say keep your mental strength high, keep your your morale high. It's impossible, because you will have palpitations, you will have nervous systems, you will just fall and say, why is it not happening? It's a great push that you have to understand and get that, seek that answer. Why, what, where, and how can you resolve it? Because these are the important points will teach you in life, specifically when you've done an amazing business. Because these are the stepping stones. None of the books will teach you. Just look at the other the vendors For me, the greatest assets are the Gujaratis, Marwadis, the Chettiars from Bangalore, and most of our Malu brothers and sisters. Everybody in businesses, they fail, they learn, and they come up and they resurrect really so high, and they create a brand over it. Creating a brand, it's an amalgamation of your hard work, your simplicity, in terms of everything relates, and also about how you align your customers. Identify your customers, satisfy them is the greatest. It's a small word, satisfaction, satisfied, customer scores, everything under one umbrella. You need to know who are your customers, talk to them, get them as much as feedback as possible, and answer again, time and again, time and again. These are the steps of capital that you need, because you need to spend on marketing. There's something called as lifetime value, LTV, or customer acquisition cost. This is derives from the marketing term. You need to know how much of money that you will spend to acquire a customer and keep that customer as safe as possible, because he or she will become your brand endorsement. He or she will be your testimonials in your on all mediums of marketing channels. He or she, a customer, will become your brand ambassador or mascot to talk about it. And eventually, if you're an influencer, they can influence you to go ahead and raise your sales. So you have to have a vision, end of the day. Okay, so coming back to the products, right? So what does a product require? Product is basically, you have to visualize. See, many people today do not know what kind of product to sell. Since many people talk about drop shipping, today if you want to test the waters how this e-commerce model works, it's always better you test and do drop shipping. If you want to create a brand like Jiva, if you want to create a brand like Snitch or Neilman, so many brands across, startups across, in terms of various categories, you have to learn private label, or becoming a brand itself is the greatest value chain, because you're trying to create a statement for your own self, and also for the company and for the organizations. Please remember, company versus organization is two different words. It's the greatest asset that you'll ever learn, and turn a 0 employee company to a 10,000 employee. It's the greatest journey you'll ever have. Believe me, trust me on this. There's no satisfaction can give you, when you see your baby just slowly growing and growing and hitting that milestones and milestones and milestones, and then it leverages and becomes organizations. It's the greatest asset you would have done, and all these points will help you to scale high. So with that in mind, I leave it up to that, the business planning and capital. And furthermore questions, as I said, and if you till made it till this deep end, my dear ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, families and folks, please, I would request you to go ahead and hit the like, subscribe. It keeps me going in immense pleasure. It keeps me motivating. You see one subscriber goes from 84 to 85 and beyond that. So that I'll leave it at that. I'll appreciate it. Thanks for sticking by and listening to me. It's the greatest asset and great motivation for me to do this on YouTube and probably various other channels on Facebook, on Instagram, and even on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become a greatest asset tool for if you're doing a product or a bulk selling, all your purchase, supply chain, logistics people are available in that. Make use it, connect, message them, talk to them, get acquainted, put them on your LinkedIn list and start talking about it. It's like I forgot this person's name. The online, many people forget that going on website creation is like a shop creation if an offline store, right? You look at what a physical offline store will have. A great signboard, a great informations as you walk in, security, your level, your desk, your ambience, your theme, everything matters a lot. Similarly, in online segment, every social media is like your window or a gateway, or it's a gate, making sure that what you do on everyday aspects. If it is website, let's say for LinkedIn, your articles, everyday post about your industry, connect with your groups, connect with your lot of informations in terms of available for free to read, to understand, to connect the right source of people. LinkedIn also has a paid activity that you can leverage on. So I'm not endorsing all these brands, but LinkedIn precisely for a product sales, because you have a sitting host, sorry, all your buyers available there, and you know whom to reach out to, the names, the company that you work for. It's the greatest asset. You will not find in other social media website, but you will find it in a in a B2B or a company-based social media website like LinkedIn. It's the greatest asset. So leverage it. You might just kickstart, and you never know, you would have just rocketed up 90-degree way. It happens, but if you do so, you can leverage this particular social media. Anyways, thank you for listening. Pleasure to host. This is Paul signing off. Take care. Cheers. And bye bye.